Am I the a-hole for considering breaking off an engagement over shaving habits? No, it's not petty at all. Welcome back, my name's Jack, the snack that smiles back. If you're here, you're joining me to find out who is the a-holes today. But enough dibbler-dabbler, let's get started on the stories. I have a finely tuned set of standards for a partner that I've developed over the years. These standards include both personality traits and physical attributes. Maybe that sounds shallow or high maintenance, but if you find that person and you meet all their requirements in a partner as well, how is that a bad thing? Well, I found that perfect partner 8 years ago when I at least expected to. She has the kindest heart. She makes me a much better person and I love every part of who she is. My wife is a huge girly girl. That's part of who she is. A huge part. She is a makeup every day, 3 hours daily getting ready kind of gal. I've witnessed the results of this ritual for 8 years and I am still always floored by her efforts. She is stunning and she works hard to look that way. Okay, starting out promising, acknowledging her efforts. Quarantine hit and we've both been stuck at home, which I'm thrilled about. I love spending time with her. She's my soulmate. However, quarantine has affected her in a way I never expected. She's been working from home and neither of us go out much, which means her getting ready routine has completely fizzled out of existence. She has completely abandoned all of her former primping. Doesn't even shave anymore. I can give or take the makeup, but the shaving is a boundary for me. For our entire relationship, I have expressed how wonderful it is that she is a regular shaver, as that is one of my musts on my list. I get it. Body hair on women is natural, and if you're together for a while, then you're bound to see it at some point. That would be fine and expected if it was occasional, but after having a discussion about her new style, she let me know she actually feels much more comfortable this way. She's telling me that this is going to be the norm and shaving will be the occasional. I love her. Truly, I do. But I don't want this. It's my preference and it's one I take seriously and she knows this. This isn't the woman I got to know and fell in love with. She asked me if I'd be willing to shave my body hair for years just to make her happy, and I said, of course! I understand that this is a two-way street. I want to make her happy, and I want to be happy. But I am seriously considering breaking off the relationship because this will make me very unhappy. I expressed this to my brother who told me I'm an extreme a-hole. What would happen when she's sick or gets pregnant or whatever? Like I said, I understand life gets in the way sometimes, but I expect my partner to shave if they are fully capable of shaving. What do you think? You think he's the a-hole for wanting to break up with someone just because they won't trim any hair off their body? Ooh. It's so obvious he's an a-hole in this situation. But to scrape the bottom of the barrel to try and find an excuse for him, if we assume these sort of standards were shared amongst each other before dating officially, or at least agreed upon between each other, then I think he is somewhat fair to express a bit of concern as to her dropping her standards of self-care for him, as although petty, it is something they agree to uphold between each other in the relationship. And as relationships go on, many tend to get a bit lazy with those commitments. So him reacting to this could be him kind of jumping to conclusions that she's going to start becoming a snowball effect of being lazy with everything in the future. But it's still just shaving. Come on, dude. Now, I will defend having standards. You are allowed to be as picky as you want when it comes to a partner. Anyone who's upset at him for having these standards, well, so what? Don't date him then. If anything, people being more upfront with their standards would save so much time. No wasted relationships because either side is too afraid to point out the fact that they're not actually into each other and are just bored and lonely. But this guy's major flaw with his standards is the fact he doesn't take into account that this laziness she's starting to display in her appearance is an extremely natural cycle in relationships. And especially with the current worldwide situation, your relationship should be evolving into something that is beyond just looks, but the connection you have with each other. Clearly it seems like you guys are actually quite well together, at least from how much you appreciate her. And I honestly think you breaking up over this would be the biggest mistake of your life. Let's see what other people say. Please do. You'd be doing her a huge favor. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You don't love her. You love how she makes you feel about yourself when she's all put together. Break it off and set her free. She deserves someone better than you. someone who loves all facets of her. It sounds like you fell more in love with her beauty habits and appearance than her character, which says more about you than it does her. You're the a-hole. You're kidding, right? She's my soulmate. She has the kindest heart. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her, but frick her, I will leave if she doesn't keep up the beauty regimen I demand. You're the a-hole. I mean, yeah. It's a standard I've expressed I desired in a partner, and she agreed to meet that standard. I'm not forcing her to do anything. She spent 8 years doing this. She expects me to provide a comfortable lifestyle for her, and I'm willing to meet that standard, which I personally think is more difficult. You're talking about an ultimatum. Shave or I'm leaving. You sound like an entitled, spoiled child. Lamau, then leave her, my dude. You're not hurting me or even her in the long run. Nothing lost. Info, why don't you try shaving every day to see how much effort it is? Yeah, I swam competitively for years. I know how difficult it is. If she asked me to do it, I'd do it, but she doesn't actually want me to. When was the last time you spent 3 hours getting ready just to make yourself acceptable to her? As stated, I'm not asking her to do that, though I appreciate it. Literally the only part of her regimen I'm asking her to keep is the shaving. We get it. You like what you like. And damn it, you have standards. You may be shallow as frick, but you have your standards. Good luck finding somebody that meets them. Yes, you are the a-hole. Everyone has their preference, but you are acting like she isn't the person you love because she has some extra hair now. You either didn't love her to begin with, or you need to grow up. People never stay one way forever. They get old. They gain weight. They get hairy. They stop wanting to do the things they used to love doing every weekend. It's the nature of life. I'm sure you aren't a carbon copy of who you were 8 years ago either. I do ask this question though to anyone with male partners, specifically those who are actually genuinely attracted to their male partners sexually and not just settling with them. Is there a trait of your partner that if they didn't take care of or became very lazy about, that you'd no longer find them physically attractive? And assuming you still want to have a healthy relationship with this person, how would you go about that? Would you do what this guy's doing and consider that he's just no longer attractive to you anymore? Or would you just not be interested in engaging with them intimately? I ask this because this is really the only thing I can think of that this guy could do to sort of fix this situation. But I also feel it's somewhat manipulative to punish her with no physical intimacy just because he doesn't like that she doesn't shave. Not trying to defend his rather shallow personality. It's just a thought experiment I thought we'd try. Let me know. Would I be the a-hole if I ask for money to cover an insurance claim? A couple of friends came to visit me and my partner a few days ago. We planned to take our car, but eventually, to make things more comfortable for everybody, since one friend joined last minute, we rented a car. On the way to the airport to pick them up, a loose pebble or debris from a nearby construction site fell and cracked the rental windshield. Luckily, nobody was hurt, and there was only a crack about 1 inch in diameter. After the trip was over, the rental company filed a claim and held us liable for the repair, and we had to pay the deductible. Would I be the a-hole if I would ask my friends to chip in? If it was my fault or it happened in my car, I probably wouldn't ask, but since that's not the case, and the only reason we rented a car to begin with was because of the trip, I feel like the right thing to do for them is to chip in. I think you're fair to ask for it, and I don't think that makes you an a-hole to ask for their help either. But I also think they are free to say no to it. Because although a friend did join last minute, you were the one who decided to rent the car. Legally, this is all on you. And legally, even a bit morally, your friends have no responsibility to help you out. Some seem to agree. Not an a-hole, but I don't think they would be an a-hole either for turning you down. Sadly, since it was your judgment call, responsibility will largely still fall on you. Sad face. It's no one's fault. It's just one of those things. You can ask, but they don't have to. Not the a-hole. Doesn't seem like the OP appreciates this response, though. It feels like a small PP move if they refuse. It was a joint decision to rent, and they paid for their share of the rental. I just happened to be driving because I volunteered to for the good of the group. It's a bit of a small PP move, in my opinion, to let me and my partner bear all of the financial burden. This doesn't sound like you came here for anything other than validation. I know your situation sucks, but you're arguing with everyone who says your friends are not obligated to pay. I'd go stronger than the no a-holes here and say not the a-hole because of this. better to confirm clearly in advance if possible, but when it's essentially a joint rental and one person happens to be the driver, then everyone should consider themselves on the hook for damage that isn't the driver's fault. Maybe they're not legally responsible, but would it be a bit of an a-hole move for them to decline to pay a share of the damage in this case? Yes. Yeah, I'm actually going to change my response here based on the fact that it was a joint decision. I do agree with this comment. I'm going to say he isn't the a-hole for asking for this, and yeah, they should pitch in.
Hey, just noticing you're quite a bit in the video and you haven't liked it yet. Could you maybe do that for just please? Thanks. Cheers.
Am I the a-hole for calling the cops? Today, I went for a walk in my neighborhood. All of a sudden, I hear screaming. Not just screaming, horror movie screaming from what sounded like an older woman. She yelled help multiple times, and it sounded like she said stop too while screaming. I didn't know what to do, but I figured if someone heard me screaming that loud, saying help, and that person didn't do anything, I couldn't imagine how that would feel. The cops came, but I just kept walking away because I didn't want my neighbors to know I was the ones that called the cops. Looking back on it, I just feel like it's also possible that it was some sort of panic attack or mental illness, and I might have made the situation worse. If it wasn't for them specifically screaming help, I probably wouldn't have called. Not the a-hole. While it is true that calling the police can sometimes cause more damage, in this situation, it was absolutely justified to call. If I was in danger, screaming help, and people outside hear me and decide to ignore it, I could be dead. You are not responsible for how the cops behave when they arrive, and you did a good thing by trying to help. I think it depends on where OP is living. Calling the police in Australia, for example, will generally make the situation better. I've actually been in a similar situation myself where I used to live. One night I heard literally right next door of a younger girl screaming about "don't hit me" and other, general expressions for when they want someone to stop hitting them. I'm also hearing an older man yelling at her, calling her a cunt, telling her to get up and stop crying, and basically balking at all of her expressions of saying that he's hitting her and things like that. I was the only one home at the time. I was also the newest housemate in the group. And while I didn't hear any physical assault, now trust me, I was very close to the next door neighbors, I would have been able to hear it, I still decided to call. There was even a point where she ran outside to the backyard screaming help, and thankfully the police did eventually arrive. But long story short, I didn't really hear anything more from that. I'd hear the neighbors bickering for a bit every now and again, but according to the more veteran housemates I was living with, it was a father and daughter who, get into these fights quite commonly. And it isn't the first time police have come to their house, but according to one of the housemates' first-hand experience dealing with the neighbors, it was evidential that the daughter is someone who can cry wolf quite a bit. Regardless, I am still glad I actually called the police instead of leaving it be, because it only needs to be the real thing once for you to absolutely regret not calling. But anyway, this seems to be an open and shut case. Let's move on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling a drunk friend to hop off my boyfriend's chair arm? I'm really close to my old roommate, fake name Christine, so I hang out with her and a couple of her friends on occasion. One of her friends, fake name Jessica, in particular, has a reputation for cheating on and hooking up with guys in the always changing group. I have no problem with what she does as long as it doesn't involve me. We are all celebrating Christine's birthday and we are all drinking and hanging out at her house and social distancing. Jessica is getting very drunk, but she is not slurring, so I don't really realize that she is that drunk. My boyfriend smokes weed, so he asked Christine if it's cool to do it at her house. Christine says it is fine as long as her parents won't be able to see. My boyfriend contemplates out loud whether he should go to the side of the house or sit at the table and smoke. He decided that he was going to smoke in plain sight, and Christine agreed it was the best option. Within this, Jessica is begging him to smoke with her. She is calling him baby and babe. He decided to smoke at the table. She is begging him to go round the corner of the house with her and smoke. She knows we are together, and at minimum, Christine and a few other people in the group has an idea that I'm protective and get jealous when it comes to my boyfriend. My boyfriend was being polite to her and saying, I don't think I can smoke with you because my girlfriend would not like that with COVID and all. And she keeps begging as he says, fine, when I'm done, I'll leave half of the blunt for you. She was satisfied with that. She decides to sit on the arm of my boyfriend's chair. So I stopped my conversation and told her to please hop off my boyfriend. The whole table heard me, but I was using my normal speaking voice. Jessica gets off and sits on my chair and makes a joke about how I'm jealous and I want her all to myself. At the point I was so annoyed with her, I did not go along with the joke. She said she was sorry and didn't want me to feel uncomfortable. I said, everything is fine as long as you are respectful. I really meant that. I may have shown I was annoyed temporarily, but to this day, I'm not mad at her. She decided to drive home after that. Everyone begged her to stay and asked her if she was okay to drive home because she was drinking. I expressed that I wanted her to stay, and if it was my party, I would have not let her drive home because that's how I am. She said she was okay and she left. Some people thought I was harsh and some thought I was completely in the right. In my mind, I thought I underacted given how I usually feel about these things. My boyfriend said he was about to get off the chair and get a new one for himself. He said he was treating her nicely because he knew she was drunk. Am I the a-hole for 1, being too harsh, 2, not stopping her from driving home, or 3, not allowing my boyfriend to handle the situation? 1, I don't think you were too harsh. I think it was maybe unnecessary, for a reason I'll explain in a second. 2, her driving home or not should never be your responsibility. I understand we drink alcohol, we're not clearly in our heads, etc. But no, alcohol doesn't excuse you from the decisions you make. Trying to excuse drink driving because they were drunk and not thinking straight, they couldn't have made the decision properly on their own, is like trying to excuse someone for cheating on you because they were drunk and not thinking straight. They couldn't have said no on their own. And 3, I agree. You should have let your boyfriend handle the situation. The fact you intervened yourself shows you have a subtle lack of trust with him. Of course, we can argue this is due to your insecurities alone, just with how you get jealous and protective of your partners. But again, that's where you've just got to learn to trust your partner. Because in a way, you're kind of gatekeeping who he gets to interact with. Leave your partner to express their loyalty. And if they don't, they either need to learn to grow a spine and reject people, or they just don't respect you. But let's see what the comments say. Everyone sucks here. She was being annoying, but also your boyfriend is an adult and should be able to handle things himself without you treating him like your property. It just feels unhealthily possessive. Plus, saying she cheats a lot but I don't care unless it involves me is a terrible attitude to take if you're going to get all, don't even be near my boyfriend. You're the a-hole for 1 and 3. 3, you already said it. You should have trusted him enough to handle it. 1, you got in your own head. You asked her to stop, and she did. Then she tried to joke to curb any tension, and you exacerbated the whole situation. If you just let the joke slide, everything would have diffused with a laugh. But you had to drive your point home even harder, beating a dead horse, if you will, till she called no joy and left, because that was the most mature way the drunk girl knew how to diffuse it. I mean, when the drunk girl diffused a situation better than you, it's a clear indication of who's the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She was probably just mad because you put her in her place. She crossed a boundary she should be embarrassed for the way she was acting. Also, seemed like your boyfriend was too slow to react. Is he upset with you? He is not upset at me at all, but he wished that I gave him more time so the night didn't have to end like that. Well, you all should discuss boundaries, because you were bothered when she was calling him baby, and the armchair seat was way crossing it for you. I'm not blaming him, but he did kind of just go along for a while until you said something. Hello. That does us for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're looking at my face right now, that means you liked this video. So all I appreciate is if you would like the video back. Because if you like it, then I'll like you for liking the video, and then I can make more stuff for you to like that you can like. And it'll be just a constant cycle of never-ending pain and suffering. So don't do it alone. Suffer with me. I don't know where I was going with that. If you haven't subscribed but you want to see some more content, then please, what are you waiting for? Click that notification bell so you're always updated on the latest content. And hey, why not check out some other videos while you're here? But anyway, that does me for today. Thank you again for watching. You're an amazing person. I love rambling at you. And I look forward to you staring at me beyond the abyss. again soon. I can't close well. Don't at me, okay? My name's been Jack. Bye-bye. You're amazing. See ya.